right, Galen, here we go. We are back in the Facebook group Professional Advice After Your Car Wreck. I'm here with Galen Hassler. He's with Hassler. I guess it's Galen's Auto Body. I always want to call it Hassler's Auto Body, but Galen's Auto Body. And we're going to talk about, we are getting some feedback, just so you know.
Okay, I got it now.
Okay, cool. We're going to talk about whether or not you should hire the body shop the insurance company recommends. So before I get to that, though, Galen, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, just got done out of the paint booth, so just in time to get on live with you.
Yeah, and you were just talking about you put on the shirt over your whatever you're wearing too. So when you're painting, do you get paint all over your shirt, or do you have like a suit on?
Yeah, I got a suit and a full-on hood respirator, so I got fresh. It's a motor that sits on the backpack and it pumps fresh air into my hood. So I usually use that on bigger jobs, but on the smaller ones, I'll just use a baseline respirator.
Nice. All right. So tell people a little bit about your background and how you got into this, because I think it is an interesting story. So talk a little bit about how you got into doing this.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, my dad was a business owner, and I kind of felt like that would be my path. He owned Mizzou Barbecue in Columbia, and my mom was a teacher in Hallsville. But actually, after my senior year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I liked working on cars, and I actually stumbled on a magazine where it had Von Dutch and all them custom painting cars, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. So I looked up Lynn Tech, and they unfortunately didn't have a baseball team, but at least they had auto body, and I felt like, hey, I think that's where I want to go learn. And man, the rest was history. I just kind of lost myself and working on cars and collision, learning the ins and outs of the industries, learning the do's and don'ts, and a lot of trials and tribulations in the last 15 to 18 years.
Man, I loved Mizzou Barbecue. It was such a place. It wasn't called Mizzou Barbecue though, was it? Was it called, or was it called that?
Yeah, it was Mizzou Barbecue. Mm-hmm.
Did they license the name from the university?
I think that was before the time where the university really stepped in and said, hey, we need to hold on to our name before all the licensing stuff, because we closed that down in like that was what, 97, 98, something like that. So that's kind of before that time.
Yeah, that never occurred to me until just now, because I was like, was it really Mizzou Barbecue? I thought it was MU Barbecue. And
yeah, they actually, if you go into the Page Arena, or what are they called, the Mizzou Arena now, the barbecue place where Dickie's Barbecue is, right above it says Mizzou Barbecue. It's kind of cool to see that sign up there.
That's pretty cool. I want to tell a funny story. I'm gonna get to the racing in a second, because I want to ask you about the racing. But it was really a funny thing. My parents, they've got Mutrux Automotive.
Yep.
And I don't know if my mom and dad want me to tell this story, but they ran a radio ad whenever they first started Mutrux Automotive, and because MU, it was in the name MU. They ran the radio ad, and they said, and it was actually the live read of the ad, MU Trucks Automotive instead of Mutrux Automotive. They called it MU Trucks Automotive. It was the craziest thing. But anyways, so talk about your racing career a little bit, because I think that is interesting. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I started racing in 2009. My dad was real heavy into race cars back in the 70s and 80s. Both my brothers raced. I started locally here on dirt in Moberly and Callaway County, Lake Ozark Speedway. And then 2013, I got noticed by professional driving manager, and he got me hooked up with ARCA, which is right before you get to NASCAR. So I got to race Daytona, Talladega for a couple teams, and then I finally got a little foot in the door over at Roush, and I got to drive their one of their cars over at Chicagoland. Even though it was just a little start and park, it was kind of cool to be in a watchful eye of the organization. But I got into a bad accident in Kansas Speedway with my own car, and after that, I felt like life was a little bit more important than chasing a racing dream. So I stepped away. It was a hard decision, but I stepped away. I went back to local dirt racing, and I've been having fun with local dirt racing. I mean, it's more of a family-oriented thing rather than the professional level, where you really got to chase sponsor dollars and really focus on performance. At least with the local stuff, we've got a lot more control. Galen's Auto Body basically foots the bill for that. So they're their headlining sponsor along with Logboat Brewing. But they kind of, the local stuff really is a lot easier to deal with than the professional stuff.
Do they give you like training on how to say, we're driving the 18 Galen Auto Body, Logboat Brewing, whatever?
Yeah. When I was in ARCA, we went over that. My manager, Charlie Patterson, he actually had talked with me several times. And before you go on TV or radio, you kind of follow your lines a little bit. I lost a lot of that training stuff in my older adult years, or well, not very old, but when I'm in Victory Lane in my local dirt track, we try to hone some of that in there, but I try not to make it too professional. Have more fun with it.
Could you still do it though? If you were to do it right now, could you do it?
If I had the sponsors, absolutely.
Give us your best.
The sponsors, I'd knock it out of the park.
All right,
for sure.
I want you to do it just with Logboat and Galen's Auto Body. I want you to do that shot right now. Go for it.
So if we're in Victory Lane, the best way to do is like, hey, we want to thank all of our sponsors. The number 25 Logboat Brewing Galen's Auto Body car ran really good. We can't thank our sponsors enough, and it was just a good show tonight. So that's usually how it goes.
I like it. Very cool. All right, last question about racing.
Yep.
What's it hit a freaking wall at that speed? Like, what's it feel like?
Not very good. So it depends. Actually, asphalt, if you hit a wall in asphalt, hurts a lot more than it does in dirt. You don't really notice how fast you're going in an asphalt car until you hit something or you hit a wall or you start spinning out. Dirt cars, you typically have a little bit more of a focal point to lean on to where you can see how fast you're going. But yeah, the asphalt stuff's pretty crazy. But yeah, nothing feels good hitting a wall in an asphalt car for sure.
No, for sure. All right, let's get to our topic, and we're going to talk about whether or not you should use the body shop that the insurance company recommends. We call those contracted shops, but
right.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about what a contracted shop entails? Like, what is that? Like, what does that mean for you as a body shop?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been talked to by several insurance companies. So they like to call them contracted, preferred. In the industry, we call them DRP. So because it's direct repair programs. Basically what that is where, the insurance company goes to the body shop, says, hey, we're going to try to send you all of our customers that we can. You're going to do our estimates. We're going to set you up with guidelines on how to do repairs. You have certain limitations on what you can and can't do. You got so many supplements. Your cycle times have to be quicker. That's the biggest thing for me that I didn't like. When repairing cars, it's like going into surgery. You don't want to rush a heart surgery. You want to do it right. So when you're talking about dealing with the insurance companies and what they do, it goes, there's a lot into it. There's a lot to really consider when choosing a non-DRP or a DRP shop.
So when you're dealing with these insurance companies, are you able to choose your own rates, or do you have to use the rates that they're giving you?
You have to use the rates that the insurance company sets.
And
if you are contracted.
I'm assuming those are not as high as what your rates are.
Absolutely not. Nope.
So why is it that these body shops would choose to go with someone like State Farm or Progressive or Geico as opposed to just doing it on their own?
Well, a lot of it is quantity over quality. Really, that when you think about it and actually put the numbers to it, it's all quantity over quality. If they can take a 15-20% cut per job, but they can multiply the cars by 30%, then you're making more profit on the other end. I've always been trained to do the right thing, the ethical thing, work smarter, not harder. I'm not going to work on 30 cars in a week and rush them. Just not going to happen. I've worked for those shops that did that. There's a reason I opened up my own. So not saying all the shops are like that, but that's definitely a question that I've tried to tell a lot of our customers, even if they don't go with us or they do, definitely ask those questions to those body shops. Are you contracted with a shop? What does that entail? A lot of contracts are different. Not all DRP or contracted shops are built the same, because all that's obviously a negotiated contract between the body shop and the insurance company.
So when you're dealing with one of these contracted, or I guess not, I wouldn't say contracted, when you're dealing with one of these insurance companies, I mean, are they right next to you with an adjuster, like making sure that you're doing, X, Y, and Z, or how does that relationship work?
Some of them are. There's a shop that just came in from the St. Louis area. They are contracted with Geico, and actually Geico adjusters are actually inside their shop. So when you go in there, you're actually going to see the Geico rep inside their shop, and of course that's their easy segue to say, hey, you're already at a body shop, might as well use this one. They are contracted with them to do some estimates for Geico. That's typically what a lot of it does. I know State Farm, I believe they are contracted with a couple shops in town, and they are allowed to do the estimates for State Farm, and then they have a desk adjuster review it and then change it. And of course, when they change it, there's nothing they can do. I mean, when the insurance company says, hey, it's cheaper to use a recycled junkyard part than a good quality new part, a contracted shop has to do it. A non-contracted shop can say, no, I'm not going to do that. So
I was going to ask you about that. So, because you have to use the actual parts that they tell you to use, you can't use the best parts for the client.
Well, and that comes down to what the OEM tells you. That's the big difference. When we repair cars, we look at the OEM procedures. Like General Motors, they say you cannot use recycled parts. You cannot use aftermarket parts. It's not built the same. It's not the same quality. In their wording, they use that General Motors recommends you to use their parts. In the court of law, that's a very vague word. So, the insurance company uses that and tries to hold everybody accountable for that word recommended. So we have to look at other different areas, a lot of different avenues that we can go to get the proper parts. There are some policies that state you have to use the same or less mileage on the part that you receive. If it's a part that has a VIN number, you can't use it because it's stamped with that VIN number. That's meaning like driver doors, stuff like that. I've seen some fenders that have an actual VIN number on them that are glued on those, and typically you just they want you to just peel it off and replace it. Well, pretty hard to get a VIN number.
So let me start with this question. If let's say you didn't own a body shop, let's say you're a race car driver, you got
right.
And you call one of these insurance companies and they tell you you got to use my shop, or you got one of our shops. Like what would you say to those people?
Well, being as I actually have State Farm and they've actually told me to use someone else's shop, even though I have my own, which I thought was a big kick in the teeth. I told them no. It's my right, it's my choice to choose whatever shop I want. The insurance company has no pull. Whether you're third party, whether you're first party, they can't tell you where to go. It's just an impossible task for them. Now they can use techniques and strategies to steer you, and I use the word steering very loosely because it's technically not steering when they're enticing you to go somewhere, but not saying it physically.
So you're dead on. They don't have to choose the shop that State Farm, whatever insurance company recommends. It's recommends is the key word. Recommend. Yep. They can't force you to do it. You did mention something that I'm not sure everybody knows what they mean. You said first party versus third party. Can you talk about what that means?
Yeah, so first party is if, we'll just use for examples, it's usually easier to explain. So first party is if I own my own vehicle and I wreck it, it's going under my insurance. But if I'm driving along, I stop at a stop sign and Tyson over here, he can't see me or he's on his phone and he hits the rear end of my car, I will now become the third party claimant. So third party is basically going to the other party's insurance. First party is going through your own insurance.
Excellent. Nice description. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to ask you about whenever you're taking apart a vehicle, because I don't know if most people realize this, you find a lot of damage a lot of times underneath after you've removed I'll call it all the skins. I don't know what you call it, but once you've removed all that, what's the normal procedure for once you find additional damage, if you do?
Yeah. So to answer some of those questions first is I like to call them non-structural panels. That's basically the cosmetic panels, like a fender, a bumper, a hood, anything that's non-structural. So once I get the vehicle in, I tear it apart. We do 100% tear down. 100% of the time, we find more. 100%. I've never had one vehicle where we didn't turn in, and what you call, or what you're asking, is a supplement. Supplements are very common in our industry. You can't see everything, so you can only see what you can see. So once that gets scheduled into the shop, we tear it down. We write a report. We write our own estimate. We submit it to the insurance company. They'll call it a supplement because obviously they've already got one started, and then they'll just add to theirs or just use ours, depending on how we want to go about the claim. We would, in a perfect world, we'd like to use our estimates 100% of the time and then just approve it, but it's not always that way. So we have to really, I don't say fight with the insurance company. We got to work with them to some extent. But our prices are our prices. Our charges are our charges. They either pay them or they don't. If they don't, unfortunately, it gets put onto the customer. I have been very blessed in the last year and a half to not charge $1 to one customer outside of something that they wanted, personally for themselves. However, a lot of policies are set in place to use aftermarket parts. And that's what I really try to tell customers before they get into a wreck, is to call your insurance agent or whoever you're dealing with and say, hey, look, I want to have OEM parts when I get into an accident, especially if you have a vehicle that's 4 years or newer. They really, some insurance companies' policies say if there's an aftermarket part out there, we're going to use it. Doesn't matter if you have 1 mile on that car or 150,000 miles on the car. Those are the insurance companies I'd stay away from. But most of them have policies to where you can say, hey, I want OEM parts if I ever get into an accident, you can get that set up.
I do. You point out something really interesting, and I don't think most people realize that what's in those policies is really, really important. So just because it's cheapest doesn't mean it's the best, because not all insurance is the same. And this dealing with insurance companies. So
yeah, for sure.
It's way, way different. And I may ask you some questions about who you prefer and who you don't in a second, but don't expect yet. I want to stay on this topic for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's this misconception that a lot of people have that once they take the vehicle away from your lot, once you've done your initial repairs, that they can't bring it back, right? Will you talk a little bit about what happens if they're driving down the road and they're feeling a little bit of a rattle that they didn't feel before, or something else that's going on?
Are you talking about after a repair?
Yeah, after you've made a repair. Not everything gets perfect. You can't get everything perfectly done.
We're human. Yeah, I mean, we're human. So it's not that we miss a lot of things. We have a lot of procedures here in my own shop to prevent a lot of that. We have a pre and a post checklist that we go through everything. I drive every car that has a suspension malfunction or damage before, during, and after the repair to make sure that everything is in place. Now, to answer your question, if you're down the road 2 weeks from now and we replace the right front lower A-arm because you slid into a ditch, seems like that's been common here lately with all the snow and ice. So if you slid into the ditch and 2 weeks from now you start feeling a vibration, we will tell you to call me immediately. Let's go over some of the things that you're experiencing. And then most times I'll just say, hey, we're going to send a tow truck out and come to get the vehicle and bring it right back. The last thing we want to do is put anybody in danger. So, but we do go through our full inspection. We do torque every bolt on suspension parts. Most of the time, all parts. Everybody has a torque wrench here. And we go by spec. That was the other thing that we look up, OEM procedures. Every part that you bolt on a car has a certain spec of a tightness of the bolt. So we look at those and we tighten them all up. I'm very stern on that with my guys. They do know that that they have to check all that stuff.
So how might a contracted shop deal with that with the insurance company compared to how you might do it?
Well, I can't speak a lot for the other shops. However, I have noticed in the past, because we've gotten some of those cars at our shop, that, you get a lot of the, you get the feel that you're infringing into their production line if you bring the vehicle back. And that's when it becomes a problem for me. Your vehicle's there to get fixed. You thought you had someone to pay someone to get it fixed right. And if it wasn't fixed right, or if it was, offset, take it to another shop. That's what I've told people, say, hey, don't take it back. Just bring it over to me, or bring it over to another reputable shop, and we'll take care of it. The claim number is still open. So we can, so if another shop that's contracted, you go there and they say, hey, it's fine by us, and they bring it here and it's got a recycled junkyard part under it that's rusty, crusty, and we don't like that, we'll call the insurance company and say, hey, this isn't correct. Here's the reasons why, and we can get it repaired correctly for you outside of using that contracted shop.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's the part I want you to bring up, is about, I think a lot of people think that after the fact, when they come back, they're going to be on the hook for, once they leave the shop, they feel like they're going to be on the hook for whatever additional repairs might be needed. But you just take that and you submit it to the insurance company, right? And they end up taking care of it.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, we submit it right to them. Now, obviously, it's at the discretion of the insurance company whether they're going to pay it or not, if they feel that it's related to what the other shop did, or if it's related. You got to be very careful with suspension parts, though. That is one thing that we've seen in the last year, is the insurance company says, well, as long as you drove it, the maintenance or the wearing of the part is on you. Well, we also have vendors we work with that warranty and help us when the insurance companies don't. So we kind of backpedaled and asked our vendors, hey, if this part fails, or it's wearing weird, or maybe we installed it incorrectly, or however, is it going to be warranted? And yes, through non-contracted DRP shops, they're almost 100% warranted. Never rely on the insurance company warranty. Their warranty is almost as good as the policy you signed.
So tell me, do you find that you get more pushback from insurance companies as a non-contracted shop, or do you think that they give, who do you think they give more pushback to, contracted shops or non-contracted shops?
That's a great question, actually. I actually never thought about it. I know how much pushback I get, which makes me not want to sleep at night. But I don't know. I guess I'd have to work on I'd have to work into another shop to really understand that question. It's actually quite interesting. I might have to write that one down and do a little bit more research on that. I would feel I would get more pushback as a non-contracted shop, because they want us to tailor to what the contracted shops are doing. I mean, there's a lot of adjusters out there that throw fits on certain things we do. And then I've also heard from other adjusters like, well, the other shops down the road don't charge this. Well, at the end of the day, they do pay, which I find it really interesting that the other shops don't charge for it. It's either they're not doing it or they're doing it for free. Well, I don't know about you, Tyson, but we're not in a non-profit organization. So doing things for free to vehicles is very hard to do. We do offer a few things here that we, courtesy things that we give to customers, like, free paint touch up throughout your whole car, detail your car. But those are more courteous things. The paint's already mixed up. So yeah, we're going to use it, put it on your car, touch up some rock chips or something that you got. But detailing your car, that's blatant. That's obvious. We're working on it. We're going to clean it up.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of that from a contracted shop. I sort of analogize contracted shops to workers' compensation doctors, because a lot of people don't realize this, but in Missouri, the employer gets to choose the doctor. And that doctor, it's really kind of funny whenever you see the reports come back and they give the client a rating, and almost always they say, oh, they're like a 2% rating, meaning like that's how injured they were, right? I'm not going to get into the intricacies of how they do these ratings, but
yeah,
we get our ratings from our doctors. It's like, okay, they're like 35% or 40%. And it's never like 2%. Like some 0%, but they're doing what's in the best interest for them financially, because that employer is going to keep paying them, or the insurance company is going to keep paying them to see their employees. So do you see it very similar when it comes to these contracted shops? Like they're basically just doing what's in their own financial interest?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when the insurance company is starting to look, I mean, the insurance company, I mean, literally are getting into your notes and in your finances when you're a contracted shop. I mean, they're looking, how many cars did you do this month? What was the turnaround time? How long did you have the car waiting on parts? They also look at the cycle time for rental cars. That if the insurance is paying for it, they're going to look at it. And so, the insurance companies really dictate the insurance or the body shops, and they actually will go in there and say, hey, your cycle times need to be quicker. We need to do something different. A lot of times the body shops will turn around and do quicker repair, either do a repair versus replace and make the job a little quicker, or however. I used to work for a couple of shops. I can only say for the ones that I did work at, but there was still there was one specific shop that was very unethical, and that's actually the day I quit. So
it's interesting. I didn't realize that they tracked all that stuff and really pushed you on when it came to those. I understand why it comes to the rental cars, because they don't want to pay for those rental cars.
Yeah.
And they want to.
Yep.
But I guess whenever you're as a non-contracted shop, like whenever they start to push you like that, what do you say? Like, how do you respond to them?
I used to respond to it really well. As I'm getting older, I'm getting a little crankier. A lot of times it just takes there's really not much pushback when you have documentation. So that's the biggest thing in my field that we have to provide. Being a non-contracted or a non-DRP shop, I really have to document and look and find procedures and prove to the insurance company why I'm charging what I'm charging or doing what I'm doing. As long as I have the documentation, they can't say no. But when I used to work for those other shops, they would be like, well, you got to fix it this way. It's the cheapest, fastest way. Here, we obviously look at turnaround time. We don't want customers out of their car for very long. However, we're not going to shortchange our quality. We're not going to go quantity. At the end of the day, our profit margin's good. I keep an eye on that just to make sure that, hey, we're not, slowing down too much. But I haven't seen it in the past 3 years. Past 3 years, we changed up on how we're doing things, and it's been going uphill ever since. So we've been really happy with the changes. Really happy that we focused more on quality, not quantity, looking up OEM procedures, and more dealing with making sure our ethics are in order than worrying about the insurance company's bottom line.
So let's say that someone's watching this and they got suckered into using the body shop that the insurance company recommended. What's your advice to those people to make sure that they don't get screwed over?
We actually had one yesterday. So she actually had a car, and she ditched it with the ice storm. The insurance company told them to go to a certain body shop here in town, and they totaled the car. Okay, that's fine. The problem is the body shop turned around and said, oh, by the way, you owe this much money for lot storage charges, which I didn't understand. That usually gets billed to the insurance company. Well, needless to say, the customer got really upset, and all the charges got issued to her, and she had to pay several, I think it was close to $1,200 out of pocket to get her own car totaled. It mind blowing. Well, so she just wrecked her car 2 days ago. She brought it here, and she had a much better experience. We're pretty transparent. We'll walk you through. We'll help you through the insurance companies. Contessa up front, the office manager, she loves starting claims with people and really getting them the verbiage they need to use when talking to their insurance companies. A lot of people don't know the verbiage. Not that it's special language. It's just more questions to ask. You gotta make sure yourself is protected.
Well, let's get into some of those questions. What are a couple of those questions that people should be asking their insurance adjuster?
Well, so typically when they first start a claim, we like to tell them that they have their dates correct. Make sure your dates are correct. Also, if you ever get into an accident, you've got to take photos, plenty of photos. You can't have too many. Go back to what I was saying, documentation. gets the agent or the adjuster to pay. Well, it's the same thing if you get into an accident. Documentations will get you paid. I mean, at the end of the day, when you wreck your car, your insurance company owes you money. That's it. I mean, you don't owe the body shop money. The insurance company owes you money. And then once you're ready to repair your car, you turn around and pay the body shop. People misconstrue that a little bit, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's the contracts. The contracts are between Galen's Auto Body and the customer has a contract between them and the insurance company.
All right, one last scenario, and then we'll start to wrap things up. Let's say that they've taken their vehicle to a body shop, a contracted body shop. They've done all the repairs, and they're still having issues. Mm-hmm. What's your advice to them at that point? What should they do at that point?
So the best thing I've told a couple people is that goes back to the documentation thing. Email the body shop. Email them if they are saying no, it's not a problem. And this is after you've taken it back and it still isn't fixed. Email them, say, hey, the issue's still happening. Is it something I'm going to live with, or is it something that, y'all are going to take care of? How's it going to work? Well, at that point, I would go to a non-contracted shop, let them put it up on their rack, let them inspect the work, and see if it's something that they can help you out with, because we generally have a lot more pull than a contracted shop.
And I'd agree with you. And by the way, you have a fan. Someone said, it doesn't tell me who their name is for some reason, but Galen's the best. Yes, he is. Galen's the best.
Yeah. Sure is Contessa.
I do. No, actually, I can see it on Facebook. It's Dustin. Hey, Dustin. How's it going?
Yeah, Dustin. Yeah.
But no, I do agree that and I don't think a lot of people realize this. I think a lot of people think that either they got a check from the insurance company or the body shops can pay, that they can still get that stuff repaired as long as they haven't signed a release. And on property damage claims, releases aren't that common. You see it you're going to see it in every single injury case of release, but you're not going to see it on a property damage case. So if you're seeing issues, take it to another shop. I mean, and I don't know the answer to this question. So I'm going to ask this. Let's say that someone brings it over to you. I mean, do you still charge that person to put it up on the rack, even if you don't find more damage, or how does that work?
Nope. So if I have to put it on the rack because the insurance DRP or contracted shop did a bad job, I charge the insurance company 100%. I've never had to charge a customer, and I'm very transparent to that. When a customer comes in and I feel like it takes 10 minutes of my time to put a car up on the rack and I can help them out. Look, I'm a local guy. We like to tell everybody to shop local. I feel like I've given a good name for myself in and around the community. And so if it takes 10 minutes to help you out to really find out what's going on, and I see it, and then sometimes I'll just take a photo of it and say, hey, take this back to your body shop. They need to fix this correct. Well, 9 times out of 10, I just got that customer, even though they're going to take it back to the shop. I want them to be safe. And that's more important to me than getting every amount of business possible. We're doing good with the customers that chose us, but if I got to spend 10 minutes out of my time to help a customer with their body shop, I'll do that. But a lot of times we can really help them get what they need, or they'll use us to get exactly what you need.
Well, we got a good comments. I think you'll get a kick out of this one. We're getting there. I think Crystal says definitely good information. So good. I'm glad you're sharing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Galen, did I leave anything out when it comes to contracted versus non-contracted shops?
I mean, there's always more you can dig into, but at the end of the day, it's, we try to give a lot of information to the customers. A lot of it's really based on, me or the body shop dealing with the insurance company at that point. I actually had a customer call me today. I've been really trying to help him get where he needs to be with his insurance company. And he was like, man, it's a lot of information to have a quick 5-10 minute call with them. And I said, well, I've been doing this for, how long have I had my body shop? For 12 years. And I've really been zoning in on the insurance companies the last 5 years, taking a lot of classes, reading policies, just doing a lot of my due diligence. And it's nothing that you can learn in the next, 30 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So, if you do go to a body shop, ask those questions like, how much do you know how to deal with the insurance company? And if they say, That's one thing I guess you should say. You go to a body shop and they say, "Oh, we work really good with the body shop or with the insurance company."
I love it. I love it. We do.
Not the best answer.
Hey, we do have some questions for you.
Yeah.
Please talk about how repair costs have increased due to telematics and smart vehicles.
Well, all right. So we did a Tesla not too long ago, and we actually are going to refuse to do them from here on out, unfortunately. For one, you can't get parts for them. Tesla, what brand are they specifically talking about? I guess that would be a good question.
Does not say.
You're kind of jumping into a pretty good question that I could speak for a couple hours on. The new technology these vehicles have is really becoming hard to really focus on. So we have taken a lot of courses and classes on ADAS or self-driving vehicles. In my industry, I'm getting really worried on how much technology is going into these cars. I seen at the Super Bowl, they had a commercial on a self-driving car, and me and Contessa just kind of, we were kind of speechless. With a rise of costs, I do see a rise of policies and premiums. However, you still have to watch out on what body shop you take it to. We at Galen's Auto Body personally don't have the equipment to do all the calibrations. There's not a shop in Columbia that has the calibrations tool. We have to send the cars to the dealership. Now, keep in mind that I've done research at those dealerships, and I've started to see that they don't even have the proper equipment to do the calibrations needed for lane assist, blind spot monitoring, distance sensors for crash distance. A lot of that stuff is becoming new technology. Even the calibration tools that they're selling to the body shops are still not up to date to do them 100% correct. Now, with that being said, our front crash, the biggest one I like to worry about is the blind spot monitoring and the front collision warning distance sensor. It's a radar sensor. Those need to be calibrated. I mean, they have to be perfect. 1 degree off at about 20 feet 1 degree off and 40 feet is about 10 feet of stopping distance. If you're not paying attention and you're going 60 miles an hour, 10 feet is a lot of braking distance. Doesn't sound like that much in 60 miles an hour, but with the cost of the vehicles going up, the cost of premiums I see going up. The self-driving cars make me real nervous, especially when you're segueing into self-driving cars to non-self-driving cars. I don't know, but I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, I think you did. I have a question in addition to that, because I'm not sure what telematics is. What's telematics? Is that the software for estimating? Okay. Have you seen that's increased the cost over time?
Oh yeah. Well, so we actually just got a message not too long ago about our estimating software is going up. So I wasn't too happy about that one.
So who actually plugs in those costs? Like, is that like some company that says, okay, now this is the market rate for Columbia, Missouri. This is the market rate for St. Louis, Missouri. How's that?
You're talking about like labor rates and stuff?
I guess. I don't know how it works.
Okay, so like labor rates. So we all as body shop owners turn in rates to all the insurance companies. Like State Farm has their own deal where we go in and we say, hey, our labor rates are this, this, and this. Well, then what they do is they take that in a calculated zip code and they say, these are their rates. Well, the problem with that is if some body shop down the road says, well, our rates are $55 an hour, but they're also contracted with the body shop or with the insurance company. Me, who is not contracted with the insurance company, is $60 an hour. They're going to go with $55 an hour. So that's the crappy part. Now, as far as like labor times, like to put on a fender, that's usually calculated by the OEMs mixed with insurance and years of dealing with technicians. That is actually a good question. I haven't actually researched on how they actually get the labor times. I know there are some companies out there that protect the body shops and make sure they're not getting misconstrued times and stuff.
Nice. I guarantee that your lobby is not nearly as big as the insurance company lobby. So they'll be they'll do the best they can to sandwich those down as much as they can.
Yeah. I don't have marbled flooring imported from Italy.
Which is a good segue into the next question. Tyson, this one's for me. Have you seen any legislation on increasing state liability minimums on autos? And I kind of want to laugh at this because there's no way in hell that the state of Missouri is going to increase the minimums. If anything, they will try to decrease them. We just went through another round of tort reform a couple of years ago. They're trying to push more through now. And it's just cracks me up, the number of people that support tort reform. They don't know what it means. I could talk for 20 hours on this straight, but like you're advocating removing your rights. Like that's what you're advocating when you're advocating for tort reform. You're saying that you want your rights taken away in favor of the insurance industry. That's exactly what you're saying, and it drives me freaking nuts. So no, there's no way that they're going to increase the limits in Missouri. I don't see it happening. If anything, they're going to start sandwiching those down even more. Like Illinois is $20,000, right? I think the property damage minimum state minimum is $10,000. So they're going to take away as many rights as we'll let them. So if you
know what it is in Missouri,
what the state minimum? They're the 25,000. It's 25,000. That's what it is. So.
Yeah, I had a question on that. That was probably a couple months ago because that's another thing I want to chime in on is some of the insurance companies. I always tell all my customers, go to an agent. They know the laws of Missouri. If you go online and go to one of these, create your own premium website, Geico is one of them. You go on there and you got a little cute little scroll bar. You can say, hey, cool, I'm going way down here. It gets cheaper. Boom, I still have insurance for $30. You don't know the state laws. I guarantee it. And I know Tyson knows. I know by just dealing with customers. They have. I've had a customer come in here where they got hit. They were a third party, and the insurance call said, "Hey, they've only got a $5,000 limit to fix their car." And I'm like, "This car is totaled. I mean, it's a $30,000 car." So we had to go. Unfortunately, we had to go through their insurance. So they ended up becoming a first party, and they. Like Tyson said, you lose all your rights going to a first party because third party, you have a lot of leverage.
Yeah, there are, and I can get into bad faith and a lot of other things. And another one of these episodes to talk about that. We're going to end with this. It's kind of a fun one. Who are the 3 worst insurance companies to deal with?
Can I get in trouble by saying that?
No, like it's your personal experience. If you want to instead flip it and tell me who the 3 best that you like dealing with are, I'm going to
That's a hard one too. I'm gonna tell you my worst experiences.
Okay.
My worst experiences. Number 1 is Geico. They have gotten better. My next one would be Shelter Insurance. And then my next one would probably be the General. They're another one, and ironically, 2 of those are the ones where you go a little scroll bar and you can scroll and do all this fun stuff, make your insurance cheaper.
People want the worst, man. Dustin wants the worst.
We want the worst. Oh man, I used to say Geico. I used to say Geico is by far the worst. Here lately, it's been Shelter Insurance. I have to call them out. And ironically, 2 years ago, I was telling everybody to switch to Shelter. I don't know if they did some corporate changing or what they did, but they have been doing a lot of backlash, telling me no's, and usually, we're the repair professionals. So when we try to tell them, hey, you have to fix it this specific way, they backlash. That makes you worrisome because you're like, hey, you used to pay for this way back when. What changed in your corporate office, and what body shop are you dealing with that isn't doing this is making you feel like it's okay to say no? So
yeah, I'm going to give you the 3 worst of the major insurance companies because I can name some of the small ones, but most people don't know. It's like I can tell you like Unique Insurance, but they're awful. But like of the 3 majors, I'm going to give you the 3 worst in order. And I'm going to give you some rationale behind this. One is they will get their insureds sued in a heartbeat because they try to offer the bottom dollar. And so if you have those insurance companies and you get in a crash, your chances of getting sued by someone like me increase exponentially because they're just paying garbage on these claims. Also, they've got these setoffs when it comes to underinsured motorist coverage. So if you compare their policy versus someone else, they're giving you less coverage. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have $50,000 in underinsured motorist coverage, and you pay pay for that plan every single day or every month. You're paying your premiums, and then you get into a crash, and someone else has $25,000, right? They will subtract the 25 from the 50, so the most you'll ever get is 50, right? You compare that to a policy like State Farm, that's a good policy. You get $75,000 in coverage as opposed to $50,000 in coverage. So they charge you for the same amount, but they decrease your coverage. So Allstate is the worst. I think most injury lawyers would agree with that. American Family is awful. And then number 3, which has made its way up there, it used to be probably Liberty Mutual, and they're still bad too, Shelter Insurance. And it's funny, like the people in Columbia, I know that it's the corporate office and everything, but it's become a garbage insurance plan. So
I've got friends that work for Shelter, and just recently I've made some new friends. I was like, hey, where do you work? They said Shelter. I'm like, ooh, and they're like, oh, you like them? I was like, I can tell you about experiences, but being employed by them and trying to get a paycheck from different things
might be a great place to work and everything, but it's just not. I mean, they'll get you sued if you're the insured. But anyways, how do people get in touch with you if they want to get their car fixed?
Several different ways. I mean, Facebook's always a good thing. We teamed up with LV Creative to put out some really cool new videos. We're having some fun with them. But you can go to Facebook. You can message me. I'm usually the one answering you directly. You can call us on our cell phone number or telephone number. It's 573-808-6229. Go to our website, galensautobody.com. Google search us, do whatever you need to do. We're not hard to find. We're north on Rangeline in Columbia. Got a big white shop, so come check us out.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Stay on for just a second. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be on next week. See ya.